Crown corruption. Wow. Can't even make it a few hours, let alone the week. I'm just going to keep rolling it out, pounding into the Canadian politicians who are lying, each and every one of them, to all of you. Doug Ford, a 5-part media blitz all across all airwaves of Canadian media that, Carney secured a deal with Trump, the bridge is going to be okay, everything's grand. Folks, I'm introducing 2 things to you all today. It's part 3 of this Gordie Howe bridge and absolutely everything to do with Canadian-USA trade, foreign trade, commerce, all of it. It's not the power of president when it comes to commerce, folks. It's not. When Donald J. Trump gets on a pulpit about Gordie Howe Bridge and starts hammering all these issues against Canada, and Doug Ford gets up and says, we made a deal with Michigan, the Canadian government and the Ontario government made a deal with the state of Michigan, and we got our own thing. We don't listen to no Donald J. Trump. No, you don't. There's an Energy and Commerce Committee that is absolutely Congress persons entirely, both Republican and Democrat. Did you know there's a yin to a yang in the U.S. Congress on almost every single ministry? It's called checks and balances. Canadian Parliament is a pathetic, low-tier, de-evolved, very pathetic, very basic system of autocracy, not the complexity of the American system, chock full of checks and balances. And I'm telling you all right now, Republicans in majority in U.S. Congress and Democrats in majority in U.S. Congress together in 2 committees who develop and create the congressional system for legislation in these fields. Any congressperson can apply and get into a committee. There's all kinds. There's dozens and dozens and dozens, just like ministries, anything to do with money. That's the power of House. They control the purse. Not President Donald J. Trump. He was defending both Democrat and Republican congresspersons when the idiot, the fat, big-headed, Dumbo idiot Doug Ford gets on his pulpit today and says Donald J. Trump flipped his narrative. He was all for this before 2017. Now he's not. Because you stupid fat asshole, haven't read the Democrat Commerce and Energy Committee reports over the last 15 years, you miserable fat idiot. And why would you? You're a premier. You know any foreign trade goes through the federal government. But you don't care. Federal government did that with Michigan, the governor of Michigan. And yes, at the bequest of the federal government of the United States, head of state, president of the United States, no problem. Matter of treaty, right? No problem. Except, and that's why USA didn't pay for the bridge, because the state of Michigan can pick it up. It's their right. It's just a bridge, right? Ain't wrong. What happens is when national security comes along, folks, in all the, ready for this, Democrat, separate congressional committee made up of Democrat members of the House committee, and then there's a Republican committee of the House made up of all Republicans. They do reports on national security in relation to everything money. And they have a whole list. Both committees, both parties, separately, entirely, together. Donald J. Trump is now caught up with all the Democrat committee reports. from all years Obama all the way through to Joe Biden, matching the work with the Republicans. It's why you saw Marco Rubio working with the Trump administration, because he was on a committee as a congressperson. There's Senate committees too, a whole other set of check and balances. You see, parliamentarians do sweet fuck all in Canada. They hardly show up for work. There's a pile of backbenchers who nod, the party leader and cabinet, they make all the decisions, I just say, oh yeah, I do a vote. Not in USA. Congresspersons join committees they're suited to, that their constituents want them to, the American people, and they get to work on many committees if they're a good congressperson. If not, they'll get replaced. Same with senators. They get busy. They work many more days and hours than parliamentarians, and they have to show up for work. This isn't Canada, this is the United States, where you have to be accountable and responsible for the work you do, or you get thrown out of office. There are dozens and dozens of committees. In these committees and in congressional legislation, commerce legislation, sole power of the House. Oh yeah, President will stamp the bill off after. Sure, they stamp while they're in office the bills, whether they're Republican or Democrat. When you start looking at everything Democrat, you find out a tremendous amount of Chinese things since Nortel have been banned in the United States, and they certainly aren't going across that bridge that Canada proposes, or any other bridge. Just haven't seen it yet. There comes the power of president after reading those congressional committee reports and the legislation, because the legislation came off of those reports. Under a Democrat presidency, the Democrats got their stuff passed. Under the Republican presidency, the Republicans got their things passed. And it all depended who had control of House and Senate. And you'll see presidents overlap. A Republican president passing a Democrat committee set of reports that were made into legislation in a majority Democrat House. Trump's done that. That's why his name shows up. That's why he was on board with Barack Obama's stuff in his first term on time after midterms. And then there's the power of the Republicans before, without that Democrat work. And that's why USA grows and evolves, everybody. What I'm telling you right now that the fathead Doug Ford isn't telling you is in those reports, they ban a whole bunch of things from transport from Canada to the USA that Mark Carney lifted last week autocratically and on his own decision making. When he says he made a deal with Donald J. Trump, that's impossible, because those aren't powers of Donald J. Trump. They're powers of Congress. And I can tell all of you, when you read the legislation, the Commerce passed enacted legislation from 2002 through all its committee amendments, all the way up till today, Democrat and Republican, you find out Mark Carney is completely full of shit. Doug Ford is a buffoon, idiot, and he doesn't know anything that he's talking about. I can back all this up. It's key stuff that Mark Carney just passed with China, saying it's not a trade deal. Don't worry about the EVs with AI. Don't worry about the tech, marketing, and internet granted access to all of Canadians' data for the Chinese, the marketing capabilities of China. And all these things are banned in the United States. And if Canada imports them with China, brings them to Canada and thinks they're going to migrate those across state lines, over bridges or what have you, it'll be a cold day in hell. And it won't be a matter, sure, President as head of state can make that commitment to shut that project down in the name of national security, but it's actually Congress and Senate federally who regulate those things and have said and legislated no effing way. And the bridge was all good up until Mark Carney made his deal with China. No good. Overrides a Michigan governor and any deal Michigan had with the Canadian government. It wasn't to be anyway if the federal government says it's not to be. Because just like Canada and every Canadian, you already know this in your interprovincial trade. But in America, they don't have the same system statewide until a state tries to leave the U.S. country and go into a foreign nation. Then the same rules apply, becomes privy of the federal government. Sure, Barack Obama, more than a decade and 7 years ago, gave the permitting for all of that. That's before Mark Carney came along, the whole Nortel fiasco. That was done all before that, before the investigation. Now the investigation's over. Barack Obama started investigating through the Congress and the committee reports that they do, not President. But President will act because President controls treaties with countries like Canada, including USMCA and many, many more. NATO, NORAD, and you got all those committee reports too. The U.S. government is effectual. It works extremely hard, 10 times harder than anything you can find in Canada. It's pathetic in Canada. These are people who are very ignorant, very stupid. There were no backdoor deals with F-45s. Those are Congress committees, open and public in the United States. But in Canada, it's all behind the scenes, behind closed doors to Canadians, not to the American people. Yes, Mark Carney bought another set of parts for another set of F-14s, probably to try and smooth over whatever he's lied in committee that we're going to find quite shortly with both Democrat and Republican committees on commerce. And there's military committees too. I will find it all, because that's what I do. And I will catch every liar that Canada produces. Mark Carney is a bigger liar than Justin Trudeau, because he's much smarter. He's much smarter. Justin Trudeau was a liar. He just wasn't smart or educated in these areas. Very stupid, in fact. But a coward nonetheless. And I'll tell you all this. Without Canada, the 51st state, Mark Carney, Stephen Harper, all liberals, all conservatives involved today, which is Pierre Poilievre too, are banking on that they're going to appease behind all your backs what are public committees in the United States are closed door privy in Canada, which we're learning just through the United States. That's how the media got that. And those public committees tell you what the Canadian government agrees to, which if Canada wants to agree, which the Liberals and Conservatives jointly are going to do, even though they're lying to you publicly and elbows upping you, and they're trying to tell you that it's all Donald J. Trump. And if we just get rid of Donald J. Trump, everything will be right as rain with America. Folks, I can tell you in Democrat committees over the last 17 years, it's rougher and worse for Canada than it is from the Republicans, if you can believe that or not. Donald Trump's hardcore in your face, very public, doesn't hide any of this stuff, goes after it, speaks out. He's speaking out for Democrat committee reports right now. May not like Obama, throw Obama under the bus and all that, but that's just a distraction from the truth of Congress, a separate entity of president. And Trump was speaking to that. And Mark Carney, Pierre Poilievre, or any of them, to capitulate to the United States, Canadians, working Canadians especially, this I can guarantee you, as I'm one of you, and we are 50% the source of the federal revenues annually. To capitulate to every demand of the United States of America will cost Canadians a huge increase in taxes, monumental 15% across the board. Every single working class classification of taxes, income, you will see a 15% increase to meet all the requirements of the United States. More than that, you will have to suffer a 4% increase in GST just to make the American commitments. Right now, 12 million people can't afford to eat in Canada. Next year, it'll be 16. The year after that, it'll be 20 million. How far do you go till the country's completely gone? How far can you go in the radical inflation with the stagnated economy where there is no helping hand coming from America, whether Donald Trump passed away tomorrow or in 3 years and a bit time, he's out of office. January 6th, 3 years from now, he's out of office, and a Democrat magically gets elected and they get a majority. This isn't going to end well for Canadians. There is no path of prosperity for you forevermore with the United States of America. Read the congressional reports. Much worse from the Democrat side than the Republicans. But Donald J. Trump doesn't hold any punches. He's going through all of it. He accuses Obama of not enacting enough on those reports of even his own people, his own committee's Democrat. I can't answer to that. It is a power of House. Whether President wants to enact that, I haven't read that far yet. But I can tell you, the power of House over commerce, absolute, which is all the money value of trade between our two countries, sets a whole bunch of rules. And Mark Carney has violated 6 of them to the national security of the United States of America, trumping any all state agreements made with the country of Canada, removing Canada's access to the United States. That's my video. Share, share, share. Can't make any of this up. It's deadly accurate and truthful. And you can look at the deal Mark Carney made with Xi Jinping, and you can look at the list of items he's bringing into Canada that are absolutely banned in the United States of America, and a treaty violation between Canada and the United States of America. A whole pile. Whole pile. And if you haven't read Nortel to Huawei in its entirety, that was been on critical alert since all the way up to last year, late last year, until magically Mark Carney says, you know what, now that I'm Prime Minister, I love China. I want to see America die. Yeah, because he's always been that way. The congressional committees see it. They've been reporting on it for 17 years solid. Mostly Democrat, but Republicans are on board too, all through both terms of Trump. God bless everybody. That's my video. Can't make it up. Deadly accurate, truthful. Your media's incompetent and corrupt and lying, as are all your regional and federal politicians. Again, what do we have here today? Oh yeah, conservative, liberal. Like, they're not even different parties anymore. Hello, wake up. China good, USA bad? What the hell? That's my video. God bless. Bye now.